everybody goes through a phase where you realize like deals are truly the hardest thing to find. There's capital everywhere. There's $3 trillion in IRA money. The deals are the hardest thing to find, and most private equity firms are closing 1 to 4 deals, if that. I truly believe that analogy because when you comprehend it, it just makes sense. It's a really big learning lesson, and I pivoted to securing soft commits prior. And Vina Jetty talks about it, Rob Beardsley talks about it, Brian Briscoe talks about it. Everybody talks about it now because I feel like personally, everybody goes through a phase where you realize like, deals are truly the hardest thing to find. There's capital everywhere. There's $3 trillion in IRA money, so it's like the deals are the hardest thing to find, and most private equity firms are closing 1 to 4 deals, if that. So I truly believe that analogy because when you comprehend it, it just makes sense. But you realize without track record, without experience, that it's a lot harder than it seems. There was actually a deal in DeKalb. It was an 80-unit deal, and we had it under contract for $5.7 million. And we were working with an equity group at the time that ensured me that they had partners that could fund this deal, and it was through a person that I've trusted. And when the time came to really put up money and go into earnest money, they were like, oh, we need more time and stuff. I was able to salvage that relationship with the broker, but I just cut ties right there. I knew I wouldn't be able to close it. I didn't trust the equity group. And that really allowed me to pivot and make that decision of let's find out how much money we for real have based off the people that we trust, and then let's shop off that. And that's kind of like the procedure we took based off of the pivot that we had to make.
Excellent. You are wiser beyond your years, Jay.
Thank you.
I'll tell you that. So how did you choose, going back to building a team, how did you choose the people that helped accelerate your success?
That's a great question, right? So you mentioned the website earlier, and I'm going to shout out, my brother Teddy. I met Teddy at Apt Electronics, where we both work, and he was a stock guy. He loves stocks. Like his goal was to create a hedge fund. And the reason why I really liked him and his way of thinking is because he wasn't a traditional stock guy. He wasn't a traditional, let's short these stocks, let's day trade, let's he wasn't on that. He was on some Warren Buffett, let's look at these values intrinsically. He was like that. He wanted to see the fundamentals of operations, who was operating, who was in charge, their track record, going into the stores to see their products and how they're selling. Like he was looking at the business from a fundamental structure. And that's really how you evaluate any property. You're looking at it from top to bottom. How's the property management? Who are the tenants? What's the tenant base? What are the demographics in the area? And it's really fundamental. And you're not just making an assumption based off the stuff that you see in the news. You're looking at the balance sheet and the people in charge, the operating group. And when I saw that, I kept telling him, like, I knew he would be my business partner. We laugh about this today, but he was really the first piece of the pie because he's really smart. Like he's a geek with the numbers. He's an Excel freak. You saw the website. He's so good with
website is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Usually at the end I ask for the website, but hell, shout it out now. The website, wealth of information, y'all. It's clean. I love how it zooms over the city. I was telling Jay before our interview, I need to update our website. I'm like, I'm gonna hire your brother. Let's hear about, all the blog on there's phenomenal. Let's hear you talk about that.
Yeah. So
JP Acquisitions, right?
Yeah, JP Acquisitions. The website is jpac.com. But yeah, when I met Teddy, I just kept telling him like, hey, real estate is so much better than stocks because of this. And it took a lot of drilling. I'll explain like a cash out refinance model, and he wouldn't understand that. I would explain cost segregation. He wouldn't believe it, So finally, when he came around, he came and he was showing me that, he cares about the company just as much as I do. So, Teddy was basically my first partner. And, after that, we really just took it on. He had all the deficiencies. He covered all my deficiencies. I'm very vocal. I can raise capital, but he's very good on the back end. He's really good with numbers, Excel, spreadsheets, the website, so we perfectly just aligned interests based off our deficiencies. And slowly but surely, we have friends that are interested in what we have going on. So we've built a small group of people that are just slowly understanding what the company does in the business. And that's organically how we're growing. But Teddy was really the first person that I considered a partner to really exponentially grow the company. And the website is a pure reflection of growth because you can make all these podcasts and stuff like that, but people want to see the breakdown. And that's where Teddy does a great job explaining everything, how capital is convert it into a syndication, how the syndication is structured, what returns look like, what cost segregation is, why multifamily. And the blog posts that Teddy works on, he puts so much time into them, and we get so much feedback from people that say like, hey, we checked out the blog, it's very informational, and we know down the line it'll just make us more credible and show our history of growth.
That is 110% accurate. I always dig on people before I speak with them, and I loved how you explained everything. You guys need to go on to jpacq.com. Check out his website, y'all. It is so clean. So I'm going to pivot though really quick. Were you comfortable? And I asked this to everybody. Were you comfortable talking about money? You're raising millions of dollars here, Jay. Yeah. All different cultures, some feel that money is taboo, or we keep it to ourselves and we have a hard time talking about it, or we have a scarcity mindset. How were you able to discuss money, and were you comfortable from the start?
Yeah, that is the preface of any conversion. And for me, there's someone named Alex Hermosi.
I love him.
Yeah, Alex is
love him. Yeah.
Yeah, Alex is really smart, and he conceptually explains a lot of things that I just intangibly understood. So for example, I've been in sales my whole life, and I've organically been in business, and I've always excelled in a sense of converting people. Like even when there's adults, like I'll perform, and it told me that I belonged in business. So when it comes to sales, specifically raising money, which is so taboo, it doesn't get talked about. It's always like this. Like if someone took the meeting with me, Alex Hermosi explains this, I'm going to steal him. If someone takes a meeting from you, they're interested in that outcome, right? Because if they didn't take that meeting with you, they would have just committed capital already. So there's a barrier in between as to what's keeping them from saying yes and committing right there. And Alex just simplifies this perfectly, because it's like if they have a bunch of questions and there's a filler like, oh, I need to think about it. Well, who better to think about it and discuss your thoughts with besides a person that has all the information? So when you get that meeting, I look at it and I explain to people like, hey, what is your situation? What are your goals? And I'll explain to them what we do and what we provide and how our goals could be aligned, and then see what they say. And if there's some buffer in between, or I feel like there's some kind of resistance, I try to figure out what that is. And it's really just talking about it. It's a taboo thing, but you have to come in very confident and convicted. And that's what really allows me to raise capital. Is I'm very young, and I always have those limiting beliefs, like you say, where it's like, I always thought to myself, like, I'm 20 years old, I'm 19 years old. Like, who am I to raise millions of dollars? These people that I talk to are double my age, and they make real money. And it's like, who am I to do all this, And I realized, like, I have to become the avatar that I see myself being in 20 years and act as if I'm there already. So the biggest step is, using that sales pitch if they're already here. But I say this on my website, and it's on the About Me section, and it's like, I grew up in a very limited belief mindset. Like I believe that everybody lived like me because we were so constrained. All I know is what I see around me, and we were very limited. My dad we would literally go an extra mile to get 50 cents off groceries. A little bit about myself. We have 7 people living in a 2-bedroom house, and there is times where it was 10 to 15 people because my dad and my mom let 4 families transition from India to America, and we took them in, all throughout my high school. So I've always understood limited mindset and scarcity. But that's the biggest thing to convert someone on a sale, especially when you're raising money, because a lot of these people, you have to grow their mindset to bigger picture thinking for them to understand what you're really doing. A lot of times I'll ask, unsophisticated capital, like, this is what I do. And they're like, why are you hiring a property management company? And I have to explain, like, well, if I buy 100 units in California, 100 units in Florida, how am I going to manage the two? And I'm not in the property management business. You have to kind of help people grow their mind. Like, why are you buying 20 units? That's so scary. Why don't you start off with 4? Well, it seems ironic, but 20 is easier to manage. There's more cash flow for a PM company to be involved. Like, these types of things that unlock people's mind are intertwined. And once they see that you can unlock their mind, you know what you're talking about, the sale is that much easier. And, I speak with conviction naturally because I'm a confident man, and I know the work I've been putting in, which really helps. That's just makes it a little easier,
And I'm going to go back to the statement you said about speaking with people that were twice your age, making double your, where you see. And it reminded me of a statement that somebody had once told me: you put yourself where you see yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so true. And it's, you hear it from the ways that you grew up and the ways we were taught about money. you know, and sometimes it's hard to shake that off. So good for you, you know, to be able to see the value. And what people don't realize is that the bigger the deal, you can do 150 units. And I feel like it's easier than doing the smaller units, you know, and sometimes it's the exact same amount of work, but it's going to accelerate your financial freedom a lot faster, right?
Completely agree with you.
One thing I wanted to also ask you is people are busy, or maybe people pretend to be busy, you know? It's like this weird thing that's in this world. Everybody needs to be slammed all the time. That being said, not for me, I say no a lot. I'm learning to say no. How do you manage your time? You know, do you have kids? Are you in a relationship? Are you managing a W-2? Are you in sports, extracurriculars? Like, how do you take care of JP acquisitions and take care of Jay at the same time?
That's a really, really good question. And what I, you know, to kind of wind back on what you said, you want to be free to say no. You know, that's the true freedom. And that's kind of what I was, you know, that's kind of what I've been working towards. And, you know, it is a lot. You know, for the past year and a half, like once I understood, like, okay, I need to close a deal, I was so frantic. Like every single morning I would wake up anxious, like defeating myself, like, why haven't I closed the deal? Like I was obsessed with it, and it was very unhealthy. Like like my mind, that's all I cared about. And you know, it wasn't unhealthy in the sense that, like, you know, I was like I'm getting, you know, it wasn't anything like that. It was just like my whole mindset was fabricated to closing a deal, and it was unhealthy. But now that I've closed the deal, my schedule is a lot more free because I have less of a, you know, it's like a weight lifted off my shoulders. But I don't have kids. You know, it's interesting because my parents themselves, you know, don't understand what I do. You know, it's very complicated and they don't understand it. And so they just see me like not home ever. And they're like, well, what are you doing all day? And I'm like, do you think that this just happens like over, like, do you think we just buy the property and that's it? Like, you know, there's legal, there's accounting, there's cost segregation, there's the investors. Like, they don't understand it's ongoing. And for me, you know, I'm in school right now, so I have to balance that. I have a job as well. I used to have two jobs, but now I have one. So I have a W-2 as well. I go to the gym every single day. And I have family and as well as my team to manage. So every day, you know, it's just school or work. And then after I go to the gym, and then we have meetings, or I have investor meetings throughout the day. And then I have one big team meeting at night. And that really consumes my day. And then after, it's just repeat every day. And, you know, I don't have a girlfriend right now. I don't think it'd be fair for her because I have no time for myself, barely my family. I think it'd be very selfish for me to have a girlfriend. You know, like that's kind of why I've been going out some more now, you know, because I've been giving myself some relaxation time. And, you know, we don't have to talk about that, but, you know, I do just fine. But, you know, it's, you know, I really wish I had more time to dedicate with my family first and foremost. But, you know, the time will come. I work hard now. I pay the price now to pay any price I want later, you know, so that's kind of where I'm at with that. And it's a lot to juggle, but what I like to do is keep in mind the bigger picture and what I'm doing it for. And every time I think about my parents and all the sacrifices they've made, it's so easy to for me to keep going. It's, you know,